I'm gonna try and do another one of these student spotlights. These have been really fun to record because it's giving me a chance to like sit down with students and talk with them in sort of an interview manner, but it's a lot of kids that some of them coming up I haven't had the chance to do this with in some time, and other kids, like the kid that I'm gonna talk about today, the kid, they're always kids. I mean, teachers, they're always your kids, right? And I just want to reiterate, in case this is your first time watching one of these, the idea behind the student spotlights is to spotlight the student and not so much my relationship with them or what that's looked like so much. There's just sometimes kids that you're just not sure what's gonna happen. When they grow and they do something really beautiful with their lives, it's really fun to just be proud and sit back and just admire like who they've become. And that's really just the motivation behind this whole thing. I'm excited to talk with this guy because he's getting ready to graduate this week. His name's Aquil. Aquil is from West Philadelphia. He came into my class in the 9th grade and he almost failed my class 9th grade year. And I'm always talking about this idea of like, you just can sometimes see kids' greatness more than they can. And it's really exciting. It's just amazing to see someone grow in a way that like you just hoped they would. And so Aquil came in 9th grade, like I said, he almost failed my class. This student spotlight is really special to me because I'm excited to see where this kid goes in the next 5 or 10 years. That he's right on the brink of graduating from high school. And I wish someone had done something like this with me. I'd love to see 18-year-old Reynolds with my seriously long hair and all of my magical weirdness that I had, to have a snapshot of that at this age, I think is really special. I could go on and on, but instead, I'm gonna bring you Aquil. This is my man Aquil. I've known Aquil for 4 years now. I've taught him in freshman literature, and tomorrow he's getting ready to graduate, so I'm really excited to do this. And I feel real official when I look at the camera and talk about this stuff. Like, I just feel like, hey everyone, welcome back everybody. Student spot. Real quick, so people have an idea of who you are, right? Because no pressure, but people all over the world are gonna watch this. Some guy just commented this morning from Vietnam. Who are you? Say a little bit about who you are, like, and where you're from.
I'm Aquil, Daoud Suleiman Dantzler. I am 18 years old. I was born and raised in West Philadelphia. On the playground is where I spent some of my days. I come from a musical family. Both of my parents, they sing. And later down the line, that ended up leading to me writing and singing my own music as well. I value a lot of vintage, creative, artistic things. Like, that's just my whole thing. Yeah, Reynolds, I had him in 9th grade, barely passed his class, 71 gang.
See, teachers, you can fail your students and you'll still get along with them later. It works out all right, like, sometimes.
In fact, Reynolds is actually the reason I stayed at this school. Like, I was gonna leave freshman year, and because of this guy, is the reason I stayed. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm taller than I look sitting down.
He's extremely tall. Actually, look how I look so little. I feel like I look like this. Mr. Dantzler. Let me ask you about lessons real quick. And when I ask you this question, don't think about, it doesn't necessarily have to be school related. It could be like a friend taught you this or a mentor outside of school. But what's one of the best lessons that you ever learned in your life?
I think it's a lesson I'm still working on right at this moment. I'm still applying it to my life. But it's really making sure that you don't care what other people think about you and being yourself at all times. And that's something I learned. I can't really coin that, learning that from like one specific person. I learned that from a lot of different people and experiences. But really focusing on you and doing you and making sure you're being yourself at all times and not really caring what other people think. That's probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned.
So is there a place that kind of originated, or was there like a moment when you were like, yeah man, this has to be important to me, this has to be like part of what's going to make me who I am later?
It's funny, I think where it first started was when I first started choosing what I was going to get my hair cut as. Like when you're younger and your dad just takes you to the barber shop, you know, the barbershop is a very important part of like black culture. So when you start getting old enough to get your first haircut, your dad pretty much decides what you're going to get. Up until the age where you start liking your own style and figuring out, you know, oh, I want to try this. So I think that first day I decided maybe I won't get the haircut my dad decides I want to get, and I'll get my own thing. And that's when I first kind of started developing a sense of style and myself, like where I was going to start doing me and figuring out what I liked.
Interesting. I had a mullet for many years. That was my parents' choosing. And then in the 10th grade, I got a mohawk, and I dyed it purple.
Oh, my goodness.
My dad didn't like that so much. You should get a mullet.
Definitely, of course.
You look like Lionel Richie and like,
I got
oh, what a feeling. If you think back over high school, right, the kid that you were freshman year, what advice would you give that kid if you could speak to him right now? That 14-year-old Aquil, what would you say to him?
14-year-old Aquil. Don't be so pressed to like fit in. Like, you're a cool dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, people will generally be attracted to you as a friend because like you're a cool guy. Like, don't be so pressed.
What advice would you give? So one of the things I do on my channel is I'm trying to speak to like new, maybe people that are new teachers, people that want to be teachers, or folks that have been around for a while and are just feeling tired. What advice would you give to anyone who's like coming up, that's going to be a new teacher, looking over like all of the teachers that you've had in high school,
Mm-hmm.
like who stood out and why? This is another one of those like I'm not looking for a Reynolds shout out, but like you've had a lot of teachers.
Yeah.
What stood out about the good ones?
Well, it's funny you said you're not looking for a Reynolds shout out, but it is kind of a Reynolds shout out. One thing I feel like Reynolds and a lot of my other teachers did really well was like they put a high value on relationships with teachers and students. But while they did that, they also made sure we knew what the boundaries were. So they didn't come at us in a very like friendly way that was like, oh yeah, I'm just your friend and I don't really even have a right to tell you what to or what not to do just because I'm the cool teacher. I always knew when Reynolds was being the cool teacher and being the let's get work done teacher. So definitely remember that relationships are very important with your students, but also make sure you maintain a balance so your students understand when it's time to be cool and chill, but when it's time to get the work done and to listen. So
What's next for you?
you mean like the typical answer, like college and all that other
Yeah,
stuff?
well, like, so it
You
could
mean,
be
like 5 years.
It could be college. It could be you could think long game and say like 20 years, 10 years from now, what are you going to do? Or like, yeah, what are you going to college for? It could be a multi-step answer.
No drugs.
It's too expensive, kids. Honestly, find a cheaper hobby. Video games, perhaps.
Those are expensive too. I'm gonna go to Morehouse and I'm gonna study education for 4 years. I'm gonna get my degree. I'm gonna come back to Philly. I'm gonna go to grad school at UPenn, hopefully, if I can get my work done, get myself together. I'm gonna graduate there with another degree. I'm gonna try to get my teacher certification. I'm gonna try to be a student teacher for about a year and a half, get some fills, figure out what I'm gonna do, figure out if I'm comfortable, hopefully start to practicing being a teacher, maybe have another side hustle or two. Hopefully, my end goal is to create a new professional development system for the school district so that teachers are better prepared for the classrooms. So that's my end goal. But, right now, the next 4 to 8 years, it'll be school and working and getting my credentials and official documents and stuff so I can teach a child.
I'm laughing. You just clapped. I'm going to start doing that. All right. Why teaching?
I just see how important it is. Like, I've always had like the best educational experience, man. It's like I always had really good teachers, and I could just never understand why a student could not be successful. Little did I know, they just didn't have the same teachers I did. They just didn't. Their teachers weren't. They were showing up for the money, the check, the little bit of money that they get because teachers are underappreciated. And I was like, wow, why don't you have a good teacher? I don't know. And that's just with their whole lives. So I became passionate with offering people the same opportunities that I've had. And I think I can do that through teaching, like really connecting with the student and helping them to realize how amazing they are.
Last question I want to ask you. What sets you apart from everyone else? I get comments from high school kids all the time. For the majority of high school, a lot of kids, all they want to do is not be set apart. They just want to like blend in with everyone else. What would you say to kids that like feel like they want to just blend in? Like, and I'm asking that on purpose because I think that you're the dude that like, you could very much go your own way and it would kill. And so, Aquil. See how I did that? That was kind of a jumbled question. I'm going to throw that all at you and just see what you're going to do with it.
I think what sets me apart from everybody else is I got a lot of siblings. So I learned a lot of maturity and responsibility and all of that stuff early. I kind of learned how to be a dad of sorts. I still am flawed. Parents, if you watch this, don't think that I know everything. I don't. Please.
Think that I know everything, though, because I do.
So I really learned a lot about responsibility and what it takes to really be a leader and to be an example. And those things kind of helped me to develop what my friends call the dad personality. So I'm like, in my friend group, when everyone wants to be excited and turned and lit, you know, I'm the guy that's like, I'm tired. I want to go home.
You put on your slippers and...
Oh yeah, I wear flip-flops, slippers, no socks, you know, straight up dad things, man. Y'all know how I go. I think that's what sets me apart. I think that's what began to set me apart was the difference in maturity. Like, sometimes I felt like I couldn't relate to my peers in the sense that I wasn't necessarily at the level they were on, but I wasn't necessarily at the level with like guys older than me to like hang with them. So I was kind of in this middle. You know, like, you know the movie Dope you play in classes or whatever?
Yeah.
And he talks about, like, how not fitting in is, like, a blessing because you could be either. And it took a long time for me to understand that that was a good thing, that I didn't fit in. Because then I realized I could start doing my own thing again, you know what I'm saying? I kind of went into this overhaul where I started to really love who I was. And I think that sets me apart from a lot of different people because a lot of people don't really love who they are, which is why they try so hard to fit in. But fitting in is not a bad thing either. That doesn't mean you don't love yourself or that you're insecure or anything. Maybe you just like being in a crowd of people that are generally like-minded because it helps you come up with things yourself. So, like, fitting in is not a bad thing. Like, wanting to be a part of the crowd is not a bad thing. But once you're not a part of the crowd, it's an amazing thing. You know what I'm saying? Because then you begin to love yourself more, understand yourself more. You get to see things from outside rather than inside. So you get new perspective. So, you know, like, I know it's easier said than done trying to become your own person and trying to stand out. And I don't really have the answer as to what you should do to be that person. But, you know, once you reach that, you'll, like, be, like, on cloud 9. It's, like, a amazing feeling.
I'm going to say this. Not so much for you now, but for you that in 10 years, if you look this up on the internet, this is what it's going to look like when 28-year-old Aquil is like checking out YouTube or whatever we're watching
with
this
no kids.
On. You never know, man. That's what I said. So I'm thinking back, freshman year, 9th grade, all the boys have to do declamation, which means that they have to like memorize a certain amount of lines of Shakespeare, and then they have to regurgitate it in front of the class. This dude comes in dressed as Shylock from Merchant of Venice, and with the beard and the whole situation, and he does this whole bit in front of his class. And you know, the reason that stood out to me was 9th grade here is all about survival. Like, there's so many dudes that didn't graduate from here that went to other schools because it was too hard or because they didn't like it. And that's largely like the only grade that we ever have fights in. Like, fights just don't exist. And so for someone to come in and put themselves on blast, right? Not even wait, like, you knew you were going to get crap from everyone else, but like to come in and do that just kind of said something to me about the kind of dude that you were. And I think one of the things to me that sets you apart from everyone else is that ability to like willingly go against the stream. And I think that leads to a lot of really great stuff. And so, but that's one of those things that like oftentimes teachers see things in kids that you might somewhere inside know that about yourself, but like you don't know that you know it yet or something. And teachers can see that stuff on the front end a lot of times. And so I'm real excited just because I think you're also a real sensitive dude too. And what I mean by that is not that, you know, it's real funny the kind of music that you put out too, because it goes along with that idea, but I think it gives you the ability to be empathetic for other people, to be sympathetic for other people, and when you do start teaching, to really build relationships with kids and be vulnerable with them in a way that like not a lot of other teachers are courageous enough to do. And I know me, like, so I don't talk about race so much on my channel. I want to eventually, but like I know that like coming in as like some white dude from Jersey, like my connection point with students is always I need to be more vulnerable than you will be, because what that's going to do is set the bar and say like, yo, look, this is how I grew up, or this is my struggle. Like, don't let like where I grew up and what I look like fool you that I don't have any issues. But like, this is my situation, and if I can like out vulnerable you, I don't know, I'm not even sure if that's a real term, but I just coined that phrase. Then I feel like that gives kids a place to feel safe, and I think that you can crush in that area. Like, it really, really makes me excited, because what you don't know right now is that in 10 years, if you just keep going hard the way that you want to go, like I already know where this ends up. Like, and you can't see that yet because you're not old enough. But I'm an old ass dude, so I can see that stuff. So I'm just really, really excited. And so more than anything, like, I love you and I want you to do this just because of that reason. But for when I think of you going back in 10 years and watching this, it's like, Reynolds was right. And I'll be like, I told you guys. I told you I was right. So,
because you'll be at that age when you start talking like that, right?
Well, I think I'm going to start talking like that next year.
Wow.
Because I'll be the oldest teacher in the school next year. So, cool. Thanks, man. He's always doing that thing. We could make like I could literally make a montage of you doing.
You got to do it to Seal, Kiss from the Rose on the Grave. You got to do the montage to that song.
Maybe that will be the closing song on this jam.
Baby, I can tell you from a kiss on the rose on the grave. Ooh.
The song's not even appropriate right now.
I know. I would sing Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls, but that's probably played out.
You already did that. You gotta check that out in the video. Alright, thanks guys. Peace. You nervous? That means, yeah? I don't think you understood the question.